6 months later, Ethan had been busy with life, caught up in the demands of his work and personal responsibilities. As a result, he wasn't diligently practicing being in the present moment as he once did. The daily stresses and pressures slowly started to take their toll on him, and he found himself slipping back into old patterns of thought and behavior. One day, Ethan encountered a significant challenge in his professional life. A critical business deal he had been working on for months fell through unexpectedly. His ego took center stage, filling him with feelings of failure and inadequacy. He started to blame himself and dwell on past mistakes, creating a cycle of negative thoughts that fed his suffering. His once peaceful demeanor began to erode, and those around him noticed the change in his energy. Instead of responding to challenges with equanimity, he became reactive, seeking external validation and losing sight of the present moment. During this trying time, he remembered the wise man's advice about letting go of the ego. It had been easy to embrace those teachings when life seemed smooth and harmonious. But now, all he could think about is his failure to secure the business deal. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Ethan decided to visit the park where he had met the wise man. Seeking solace, he hoped to find some clarity amidst the chaos in his mind. As he sat on a familiar bench, the wise man appeared once again, seemingly aware of Ethan's inner turmoil.
It's a beautiful day, isn't it?
I feel like a failure.
Challenges can be great teachers, but they can also awaken the ego's grip on our consciousness. The ego thrives on attachment to outcomes and identification with the sense of I. Let me tell you a story. This happened in ancient China about 1,000 years ago. During that time, girls were rarely allowed to leave their homes before marriage, and this restriction was particularly enforced in Buddhist communities. In one Buddhist sect of that era, monks were forbidden to laugh or smile at women. They are not allowed to touch their bodies or expose their chest or legs in front of them, as it would be considered a sin. One day, there were two middle-aged monks who had undergone extensive study and training in a Buddhist monastery belonging to that sect. They were well aware of these precepts. One day, they were traveling on foot and arrived at a river in the late afternoon. There was no bridge or ferry, but the river was shallow, and they thought crossing would be easy. However, they noticed a young lady also attempting to cross the river, but hesitating to step into the water. She was in distress. One of the monks approached her and offered to help by carrying her across the river on his back. The other monk was astonished by what his brother monk had done. Confused and upset, he followed them to the other side of the river, feeling very unhappy. Once the first monk set the lady down, she thanked him and left. The two monks continued their journey. Along the way, the second monk couldn't forget the incident. He wondered how his brother monk could break the precepts they had diligently followed for many years. He worried that a grave sin had been committed. Even in front of someone else, the thought crossed his mind. Could his brother have violated other important precepts when he was alone? As night fell, they found an abandoned temple to rest. The first monk fell asleep immediately, but the second one couldn't. First, he felt frustrated. Then he felt pity for his brother monk for committing such a grave sin. He tried to pray to help minimize his brother's sin, but his mind was filled with various thoughts. He couldn't find peace and tossed restlessly, unable to sleep. At dawn, he heard the sound of his brother's deep slumber, and this made him angry. He made a noise, waking up the first monk. "What's wrong, my brother? Why can't you sleep?" The second monk responded angrily.
Do you have any idea what you've done? What about our precepts? How could you carry a girl on your back and cross the river? I couldn't sleep because I was praying to lessen your sin, but you don't seem to care.
The first monk replied, "Oh, you are still bothered by that lady. I put her down as soon as we crossed the river. My brother, why are you still carrying her on your back?"